Have you ever felt the need for comfort and peace in a world that's always changing? Maybe you found yourself sitting quietly, perhaps in the early morning light or as the sun begins to set, thinking back on the journey of your life. The laughter and the tears, the victories and the losses, the moments of deep joy and the times when your heart felt heavy. As the years pass, our hearts often long for something deeper, something eternal. And that's where God gently steps in, reminding us that we're never walking this road alone. There's something incredibly reassuring about knowing that, even as our bodies slow down or routines change, God's love never does. It's steady, it's strong, and it's so deeply personal. That's why today I want to invite you to take a few quiet moments with me as we reflect on something beautiful, God's message of hope, love, and faith for us in these later years of life. Whether you're retired, enjoying grandkids, or navigating new seasons of life, God's word still speaks powerfully and tenderly. We'll spend our time today reflecting on Psalm 23, a passage that many of us have heard countless times, at church, during quiet devotionals, maybe even recited from memory. But what if, in these later years, we heard it with fresh ears? What if we allowed it to speak directly to where we are now? Because this isn't just poetry, it's a promise. A reminder that no matter our age or situation, we are still held, still guided, and still dearly loved. So let's begin by reflecting on the power of God's love. Psalm 23 opens with these words, "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want." What a simple but powerful truth. The image of God as our shepherd tells us something so profound. We are seen, we are cared for, and we are led. When you think about a shepherd, you think about someone who knows his sheep by name, someone who stays close, who protects, who never lets one wander too far without calling them back. Isn't that comforting? In a world where so much can feel uncertain, our health, our finances, even the loss of people we love, this verse reminds us that we lack nothing when God is our shepherd. He provides not just the physical things we need, but the emotional and spiritual care we crave. Loneliness, fear, even regret. They may try to creep in, but they cannot overwhelm us when we stay close to the one who walks ahead of us, guiding each step. And then we hear, "He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul." Just reading that, don't you feel a breath of peace move through your spirit? It's an invitation to rest, not just in body, but in soul. God doesn't rush us. He doesn't demand that we have it all together. He invites us to lie down, to breathe, to be restored. Maybe your days look different now. Maybe the pace has slowed, or your calendar isn't as full as it used to be. That's not a loss. It's an opportunity, a chance to draw near to God in stillness and allow Him to do the restoring work that only He can do. That word, restore, it means to bring back what was lost, to renew what's grown weary. And that's exactly what God longs to do in these years, to renew your joy, your strength, your sense of purpose. God's love isn't dependent on our productivity. He doesn't love us more when we're busy, or less when we rest. His love is complete, unchanging, and freely given. That truth can wrap around us like a warm blanket on a cold night. We don't have to earn His love, we simply rest in it. As the psalm continues, we hear, "He leads me in paths of righteousness for His name's sake." And this, dear friend, is a gentle reminder that your journey is not aimless. Even now, every step you take, every conversation you have, every small act of kindness, it matters. It's all part of a path that God has laid out with care. Sometimes that path winds, sometimes it climbs steep hills, and sometimes it moves through valleys. But always, always, we are not walking it alone. There's a beautiful dignity in the later years of life. You carry wisdom that only time can give. You have stories that deserve to be told. And even more than that, you still have purpose. Maybe it looks different than it did before, but it is no less meaningful. You may be the one who prays quietly for your family each morning, the one who offers encouragement to someone going through a hard time, the one who listens, who hugs, who simply shows up with a gentle presence. That's not small. That's walking in righteousness. That's shining a light for others to follow. And sometimes that path takes us through shadowy places. The next verse reminds us of this. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. These words carry a weight, especially as we face the realities of aging. Perhaps you've experienced loss, a spouse, a sibling, a lifelong friend. Maybe you've felt the sting of goodbyes that came too soon. Maybe you've looked at the future and wondered what lies ahead. But God's word doesn't shy away from the valley. It doesn't pretend life is always easy. Instead, it tells us something even better. We don't walk that valley alone. The shadows may fall, but they do not win. Because even there, God walks beside us. His rod and his staff, symbols of protection and comfort, are never far. He is closer than the breath in our lungs. And when fear whispers its lies, his presence silences them with truth. So take heart. You are never abandoned. The valley is not the end of the journey. There is more ahead. And even now, God is preparing something beautiful. Something you can't yet see but can trust is coming. It's a comforting thought, isn't it? That even in the valleys, especially in the valleys, we are not left to walk alone. There's a quiet strength that comes when we realize that God is not just ahead of us. He is beside us every step of the way. And this brings us to another truth tucked so gently within Psalm 23. The strength that comes from faith, even and especially as we grow older. Faith in our later years is not about having all the answers. It's not about being able to recite every verse or solve every problem. It's about trust, a deep settled trust that says, even if I don't know what tomorrow holds, I know who holds me today. That kind of faith doesn't come overnight. It's shaped through time, through years of seeing how God shows up, sometimes in the quietest ways. Perhaps you can look back and see those moments. Maybe it was a season of illness and somehow you made it through with peace that didn't make sense. Or maybe it was a time of financial uncertainty, and yet you always had just enough. Or maybe it was during heartbreak when your soul ached, but God gently reminded you that healing would come. Those aren't small memories, they're stones of remembrance, markers that say God was here. Faith grows deeper with age. It becomes less about what we do and more about who God is. Less striving, more surrender. Less noise, more listening. When we were younger, it might have felt like we had to prove something, to ourselves, to others, even to God. But now, with time behind us and eternity ahead, we start to see clearly. God never asked us to perform. He asked us to trust. The psalm continues with words that shift the tone from the valley to a place of blessing. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. Think about that. A table. Not just provision, but invitation. Not just survival, but celebration. And not after the trouble is gone, but right in the middle of it. In the presence of enemies, God prepares a table for you. That speaks to the kind of confidence we can have in our later years. Not arrogance, but assurance. Assurance that no matter what's going on around us, doubt, fear, even the lies the enemy tries to plant in our hearts, we are still invited to sit at God's table. We're still chosen, still cherished, still welcome. I know life can be filled with reminders of what's been lost. Maybe you've lost some of your independence. Maybe your body doesn't do what it used to. Maybe people around you treat you like you have less to offer now. But here's the truth. In God's eyes, your value has never changed. In fact, your seat at his table is still reserved, just for you. You are not forgotten. You are not finished. You are fed, filled, and surrounded by his presence even when the world feels distant. And then comes this line. You anoint my head with oil, my cup overflows. What a picture. Anointing was a sign of honor, of calling, of sacred purpose. And it still is. God isn't finished pouring into you. Your cup even now can overflow, with wisdom, with grace, with kindness, with laughter, with love. The older we get, the more we realize what really matters. And often what matters most isn't loud or flashy. It's the gentle overflow of a heart that has walked with God and still longs to pour into others. Your cup might not be overflowing with wealth or energy like it once did, but it can overflow with gratitude, with understanding, with stories that only you can tell. You have something the world needs. Younger generations are hungry for that kind of richness, the kind that only comes with time and faithfulness. It might just be a smile that reassures a nervous child, a few quiet words that calm a grieving heart, or a simple prayer whispered over someone who doesn't even know they're being prayed for. That's what an overflowing cup looks like. And the beauty is God's the one doing the pouring. You don't have to fill yourself up. Just stay open. Let His presence refresh you, again and again. And then we come to these final words in the Psalm, "Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life." Let that sink in. Not just in your youth, not just in your prime, but all the days. That includes today. That includes tomorrow. That includes the slower days, the quieter days, the ones where you wonder what's next. God's goodness and mercy are not behind you. They're beside you, and they follow you. They're like faithful companions, walking step by step, never letting you fall too far behind. Mercy for the mistakes you've made. Goodness for the blessings yet to come. Hope for each new dawn. Sometimes it's easy to believe our best days are behind us. But God's word says otherwise. You're still surrounded by His mercy, still covered in His goodness. Every breath is proof that God still has something to show you, something to teach you, something to use you for. This life isn't winding down, it's preparing us for something greater. And even now, in the quiet of your home or the gentle rhythm of your days, God is working. He is blessing. He is near. And maybe, just maybe, you've started to notice those quiet blessings a little more now. A warm cup of tea in the morning, the sound of birds outside your window, a phone call from someone who still remembers to check in. These aren't small things. These are signs of a faithful God who weaves His love into the rhythm of our lives, especially when we slow down enough to notice. Some days may feel ordinary, but even those are soaked in grace. That's part of the beauty of walking with God in this stage of life. You start to see the sacred in the simple. You realize that His presence isn't always found in the grand and loud, but in the stillness and the gentle reminders that you're not alone. And that's why Psalm 23 means so much more now, doesn't it? When we read it in our younger years, it might have felt poetic or beautiful, but now it feels personal, real. It speaks directly to the heart that's been through life. The joys, the sorrows, the changes, the waiting. It's not just words on a page anymore. It's a mirror of our journey, a promise we can lean on with confidence. When the psalm says, "I will fear no evil, for you are with me," it speaks to those quiet fears we sometimes don't even talk about. The fear of what's to come, the fear of losing more, the fear of being forgotten. And yet here it is in black and white. A reminder that no matter what shadows fall, they are never darker than the light of God's presence. We've learned through the years that fear doesn't always look like trembling. Sometimes it looks like silence, like putting on a brave face, like wondering quietly, will I be okay? But Psalm 23 doesn't tell us to be strong on our own. It tells us that strength comes from knowing who walks with us. God is not a distant observer in your life. He is the shepherd who knows your name. He knows every wrinkle and every scar. He knows every prayer you whispered when no one else was around. He knows the weight you've carried, and He never turns away. That's the kind of shepherd we follow. Not one who leads us into pressure, but one who leads us into peace. And isn't that what our hearts long for most now? Not noise or speed or even excitement, but peace. Peace that settles in our soul like a soft blanket. Peace that says, you're safe here, you're seen, you're loved. That peace isn't found in the world. It's found in Him, in every line of Psalm 23. That peace is whispered again and again. Sometimes when we talk about faith, people assume it's only about big, bold steps. But in these later years, faith looks different. It's in the little choices, the decision to be grateful, the courage to keep hoping, the willingness to trust even when we can't see what's ahead. These are quiet, holy acts of faith, and they're just as powerful. You see, even when your body slows down, your spirit can grow stronger. That's the beautiful trait of these years. What you may lose in speed, you gain in depth. What you lose in energy, you gain in clarity. Your prayers become deeper. Your love becomes richer. Your wisdom becomes more valuable. And all of that is because God has been shaping you, molding you, drawing you closer, not further from His heart. And so even in a world that often forgets to honor the elderly, God never forgets. He sees every wrinkle as a story, every sigh as a prayer. He doesn't count your value in productivity, but in presence, in your willingness to show up, to love, to reflect His kindness in whatever ways you can. Whether you spend your days surrounded by family or in the quietness of your own company, God's presence fills the space. He is just as close in the stillness as He is in the celebration, and His promises don't expire. They don't weaken with time. In fact, they become more precious, more trustworthy, more real. You might feel like life has slowed down, but God is still at work. He's still growing beautiful things in you. And just like a tree that bears its sweetest fruit in its mature season, so too does your life hold a richness now that wasn't possible before. That's not an accident, it's grace. Grace that's been growing in you over time, often unnoticed, but always steady. So when Psalm 23 says your cup overflows, believe that. Your life still holds overflow of purpose, of peace, of wisdom, of faith. You have more to give, more to receive, and more to hope for. Because with God, nothing is ever wasted, not a moment, not a year, not a single tear. You are still in the middle of a story He is writing. And the chapters ahead, though quieter, may be the most meaningful yet. The chapters ahead, though quieter, may be the most meaningful yet. Not because they're filled with activity or noise, but because they're filled with depth. Moments where your heart connects with God in ways that perhaps it never has before. See, the world might tell us that getting older means becoming less. But God's message is so different. In His kingdom, age isn't a loss, it's a gain. Every year lived is a testament to His faithfulness. Every wrinkle, a mark of survival. Every gray hair, a crown of experience. And every moment still to come, a canvas for His grace. So even when you're sitting alone, maybe by a window, watching the wind move through the trees, don't let the silence fool you. That quiet moment is full of God. He's there in the breeze, in the memories, in your very breath. His Spirit doesn't leave with age. It grows closer, more familiar, more tender. Psalm 23 doesn't rush. It moves slowly. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. It's not a hurried path. It's a gentle one. God knows we've rushed enough in our lives, raising children, working hard, carrying burdens we thought we had to carry alone. But now, He invites us to rest, to be led, to drink deeply from still waters and let our soul be refreshed. Maybe this is the time in life where refreshment means more than ever. Maybe you're not chasing dreams anymore, you're seeking peace, and God meets you there, right there. Not in the noise, but in the stillness. That's the promise of the shepherd, to give rest to the weary, comfort to the lonely, and joy to the heart that still hopes. Because that's the thing, we never outgrow hope. We never stop needing it. And even when life has shown us its rough edges, God still holds out the hope that things can be beautiful, that there's still more to experience, to feel, to give. Hope in God's hands is never fragile. It's strong, enduring, alive. So yes, you may be in a season of slowing down, but in God's eyes, you're still walking forward, step by step, faith by faith. And He's not done showing you His goodness. You may have walked through valleys, deep ones, times of illness, grief, disappointment, and yet you're still here. That's not by chance, that's by grace. God has walked with you through every shadow, and He'll keep walking with you all the way home. And when that psalm says, "Surely Goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life. It doesn't mean just the younger, stronger days. It means all your days, even now, especially now. God's goodness isn't in the past. It's not only in what was, it's in what is. It's in what's yet to be. And mercy? Mercy is the gentle hand that holds you up when you're tired. It's the voice that whispers, "You are still mine. You are still loved." Your journey is sacred, friend. It's not small. It's not forgotten. You're not forgotten. In fact, you're deeply known, deeply loved, and every breath you take is proof that God is not finished writing His goodness into your story. Let that settle into your heart today. Let it quiet the noise of worry or regret. Let it comfort the ache of change. Let it fill you with courage to keep trusting, even if your steps are slower now, because the shepherd never stops leading, and He never stops loving. There's something deeply comforting about knowing that we're never walking this journey alone. Even when the path ahead looks uncertain, or when life feels a little quieter than it once did, God's presence is still right beside us, faithful, patient, and full of compassion. As we continue to reflect on Psalm 23, we arrive at one of its most profound declarations. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Those words carry a kind of strength that doesn't come from the world. They speak of a peace that doesn't depend on what's happening around us, but on who walks with us through it all. Life in our later years often brings changes we didn't expect, saying goodbye to old routines, facing health challenges, or experiencing the loss of loved ones. These valleys can feel dark. They can stir up fear, loneliness, or uncertainty. But in the middle of those shadows, God reminds us, "You are not alone. I am here. I always have been, and I always will be." This kind of companionship, this closeness, isn't just a comforting thought. It's a living promise. God's presence in the valley is as real as His presence on the mountaintop, and He never leaves. When we feel weak, He becomes our strength. When we grieve, He holds our sorrow with tenderness. When we question the future, He gently reminds us that He's already there. Sometimes the greatest expressions of faith don't come from grand gestures, but from quiet trust in those uncertain moments, from whispering a prayer when you don't have the words, from choosing hope when fear knocks at your door, from getting out of bed and saying, "Lord, I trust you with today." Psalm 23 also reminds us that we're not just surviving these seasons. God is still preparing blessings for us even now. "You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup overflows." Think about that. Even when life is challenging, even when difficulties surround you, God is setting a table for you. A table of peace, of joy, of deep spiritual nourishment. He doesn't just give you a little, He causes your cup to overflow. And perhaps in this season of life, the blessings look different than they used to. They may not come wrapped in the busyness or the constant movement of earlier years, but they're no less rich. There's something beautiful about the slower pace, the quiet moments with loved ones, the time to reflect, to pray, to enjoy creation, or simply to sit in stillness and feel His nearness. Sometimes it's in the silence that we hear Him most clearly. Sometimes it's in the slowing down that we see just how present He truly is. And here's another truth. You are still being used by God. Don't let the world convince you that your purpose has passed. Your influence doesn't have to look the way it did years ago to be meaningful now. A kind word, a prayer for someone else, a smile, a story, a listening ear. These are powerful gifts. The wisdom you carry, the life you've lived, the faith you've walked through, it all matters deeply. The Lord is still working through you. He's still shining His light through your life. In fact, this season may be one of the most spiritually rich chapters yet. Not because of what you can do, but because of how closely you can walk with Him. The final verse of Psalm 23 wraps it all together in the most hopeful of promises. "Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Isn't that a beautiful image? God's goodness and mercy aren't just behind you, they're following you. Every day, every step, even the hard ones. Even when you don't feel them, they are still there. You are being pursued, not by fear or failure, but by the kindness and mercy of God. And then, that final reassurance, I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. What a promise. Not just for today, not just for the good times, but for eternity. God is not finished with your story. And the best part, it ends in His presence in the fullness of joy and everlasting peace. So wherever you are right now, however you feel, whether strong or weary, full of energy or facing challenges, remember this: God sees you, He loves you, He walks with you, He blesses you, and He promises to carry you, now and always. You're not alone. You're not forgotten. You are cherished, valued, and deeply held in the heart of God. If this message has spoken to your heart, I'd love for you to share a thought in the comments, whether it's a prayer, a verse that's helped you, or simply how God has brought you peace in your own journey. And if you'd like to continue receiving words of encouragement and faith, feel free to like this video and subscribe to the channel. There's always more hope to share. Thank you for spending this time with me. Remember, no matter what today or tomorrow brings, you're never walking alone. With God by your side, every step is covered in grace, every moment wrapped in love, and every day filled with hope. May His peace be with you always.